Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host Rashid, and this is your empowerment. Hey, if you hear a little squeaking in the background, that's my chair. I continually tell everybody my kids continue to play ring around Rosie and merry-go-round in this chair, and it is. I'm going to have to just buy me a new one. I'm just going to pony up the money and buy me a new one. I want to thank each and every one of you all for joining me today. Yeah, my energy level might seem down, but it's up. It's up. It's so cold outside. It is. It is cold outside. And it is kind of cold in here also. Thank each and every one of you all for giving me your time because you did not have to do this, lending me your ear to listen because you did not have to do that. And for that, I really appreciate it and I'm humble about that. Also, we were supposed to be joined by my co-host Rashid. I've sent him an email, then sent a text message this time because each time I send a text message to him, now it's getting to him after the show. I tell you what, when I was sending him the emails, it was getting to him after the show. Now it's the text messages. Um, Shout out to my guy Naeem88. Salute, a full nation salute to you. Um, so this is just Wednesday's night live, and I'm doing this because I don't think it'll be a live tomorrow. But I'm going to ask my channel members, is it all right for me to release part two free for the general public tomorrow? The reason I say I don't know if it'll be alive tomorrow, let me get through this stuff here and then we'll address the news, is because it's the queen of the house's birthday tomorrow, my baby girl. You know, she runs the house, and she runs the show. So it'll be her birthday tomorrow, and I know she wants dad to focus completely on her, and her wish is my command by the grace of Almighty God. Um, so let's get into it. There's so many things to get into around the world to talk about a few things. I saw something. Let's see. I saw something that I wanted to address. And let me see. Okay, here it is right here. But wait a minute. I think I can find a better version. No, I'll address this. So on RT today, there's an article out, January the 17th, which is today. And the article is titled NATO supplied missiles intercepted over Russian border region, according to the governor of that region. And I'm reading this for the first time with you all also, okay? Thank each and every one of you who may be joining us or who will join us later on Rumble, Odyssey, the Red Pill Journals, the main channel, the Red Pill Diaries, and Twitter, and also on what is it? Twitch. Thank you all. So let's read it. It says the Franco-British made storm shadows were reportedly targeting a school and medical institution, according to Vladimir Saldo. Now stop right there. What is familiar about that situation? Let me read that again, and I want to point out something familiar about the situation that may have escaped some of you all's mind or memory. Okay, it says the Franco-British made storm shadows were reportedly targeting a school and medical institution, according to Vladimir Saldo. Here is something. Do you remember, all leading up to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the United States, Britain, France, and all of these other NATO terrorist nations were providing weapons and armaments and artillery for the Nazis in Ukraine to target civilian infrastructure, schools, and everything else. You see, they leave a trail. You can pick this stuff up. It's a trail. If you look at Pakistan, the United States did the same thing there and is doing the same thing there. When America was fully involved, I mean completely involved in Pakistan, there were daily bombings. Now, how is it that you're there to stop terror, but terror arrives on your when you're present? How is it that you're in these nations to prevent terror, and some of these nations did not experience terror, or at least on a great scale, until you were there? And then as you stayed there over the months and years and even decades, the terrorism has bloomed and blossomed and grown into a five-alarm fire. Common sense tells us that either you don't know what you're doing and you're inept, and so we don't need you, or you're a part of it and you are helping to fester the boil that is coming to a bursting point. That's what it is. I want you to think about this as we look at this situation. We don't even look at the Eastern Hemisphere. Let's look in the Western Hemisphere. The United States has claimed it has been fighting narco-terrorism and drugs for decades. She says her reason for being deployed in Colombia is to stop drugs. Her reason to be deployed in all of these Latin American nations is to prevent the flow of drugs, terrorists, and immigrants, right? And yet, in every case, one looks at, she has failed and it has bubbled over, right? So either the leadership and the military leaders are inept, or this is willfully and purposely done. Okay, hold on one second. I'm getting a little feedback in my microphone. Let me call my son in here and see if he can block the feedback. You guys give me 1 second, okay? I hate this feedback I'm getting in this microphone. All right, yes. So thank you. So there was a lot of feedback, and so I apologize to you all. I don't know if you were getting it on your end, but I'm getting it big. I was getting it big time on my end. So again, why is it that America has failed to stop the inflow of drugs into America, right? Why is it that when America went into Afghanistan to quote unquote stop the Taliban and Al Qaeda, the drug problem exploded? According to the UN and according to all media reports, the Taliban had stopped, almost fully eradicated growing opium or poppies, right? On contact with NATO, led by the United States, went into Afghanistan. Guess what they did? They paid the farmers to kill off the crops that they had started growing and then to start back growing opium. Why is that? Everywhere you go, look at what's going on in Somalia. Somalia and Ethiopia are close to war right now. As a matter of fact, Somalia has threatened to go to war with Ethiopia. What is the common denominator? Do you remember when the United States was backing the breakaway part of Ethiopia, right? And how and when that didn't work and the people wanted the United States to leave, America started this stuff in Somalia, because remember, she has a drone base in Somalia. And all of a sudden now tensions are up between Somalia and Ethiopia. And look all across that region, wherever France, Germany, Britain, the United States, and all of the colonial powers have called home with their bases, we see an explosion of terror, division, disillusionment, war, death, and exploitation. So do we say that the people in those nations don't know how to govern? No. All one has to do is look at the track record. All right. Now, if let me give you an example. Excuse me. I'm getting a little bit more feedback. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Man, I'm telling you, I'm getting a lot of feedback on this end, but we're going to power through it. So let me give you an example about something. Say, for instance, you were a grade school teacher, or whether it's grade school, middle school, or high school, right? Let's look at this way, where you can relate this to yourself, right? And you were charged with educating the students who are the future leaders, politicians, mathematicians, engineers, scientists, all of this, right? And everyone that comes through your class failed to comprehend basic learning, failed to comprehend basic math, failed to understand the basics of science, social studies, history, right? Do you label every student that comes through your class? Now, I want you to understand, the students that don't go through your class, they have understood all of this stuff. They've prospered and progressed, right? And they are being successful in their careers. But every student that comes through your class has a problem comprehending. Is it the students' problems? Are the students dumb? Or do we sometimes have to now shift the focus from the students to the teacher and the lessons that the teacher put out? Common sense tells us, after examining the situation, because you know what they do, they go back and they look. That's why they keep records, okay? That's one of the main reasons for keeping records. It is so that they can go back and retrace the step of a person or steps of people, so that they can understand where they are today and why they gravitated towards this or why they gravitated toward that, right? If you go before a judge, the judge does the same thing. If you're in there for drunk driving, they look at your record. Oh, you've been arrested for drunk driving 10 times. This is no accident, right? And they sentence you accordingly to that, right? Now, if the teacher and almost everybody that comes through that class has learning problems and turns out to be a failure, is it that they had low learning capabilities, no drive to overcome their situation, right? Or gravitated towards unlawful things? Or is it an environment that has been built up by that teacher that stymies learning and investment in oneself? Do you think that when the report is given on that teacher after they start doing their homework on that teacher, do you think that that teacher will remain in that position? Or will they remove that teacher? They would, of course, common sense tells you that they remove the teacher, right? So now, let's just look at two or three of the colonial powers. Look at the United States. Look at the UK. All right, look at France. And look at the situation of the colonies that they had. And look at everywhere they call home. And set up military bases. Look at that. And then look at the environment of the people who reside in those nations. Is it by chance that people are flooding over the border to the United States for a better way of living? And I know both sides, and I'm not in here to debate one side or the other on closing the border because or opening the border. Man, listen, we're talking about this right now, and I'm just using this as a setup, okay? If we just look at the people coming across the border and we say that this is illegal, and we look at it and we just stand on that, that's a position of certain people. But a wise person, and I would say, you know what is the main cause of them coming across the border? What is the main cause? Okay, corrupt government sometimes, violence, their economy is not productive, all that stuff. You're looking at that. Okay, and if you stop there, you still won't get to the root of why the people are coming. Right? So then you have to say, okay, when was the last time this nation or that nation had a productive government? Right? And then you trace that. Also, you say, and I'm just giving out a number. 1943. They had a productive government in 1943. What happened to that productive government, and what followed that productive government? Then you go back and say, oh, they were overthrown by the UK, by France, by the United States. And then corrupt governments and government officials were installed there that brutalized and victimized the people and exploited the resources and gave the resources over to the West for profit. And then now we can get to the core of why the people are coming across. First of all, you owe them something. You owe them the ability to live in their own homes free of oppression. You owe them that because you were the one who instigated the oppression in the first place. I don't care if it was 1 day, 1 year, or 1 century. If you are the cause, then you have to get that corrected. You understand? That's why there's no statute of limitation on murder. If you murder somebody 40 years ago and they do a DNA test on you, or you get swabbed and they find out that you were the one that murdered that person 40 years ago, guess what? They bring you before their courts of justice and they judge you accordingly, right? And that's why they say there's no statute of limitation on that, because it affects so many people and it turns so many lives upside down. Well, when the Western corporations get into these countries and they exploit the people by way of the US, the UK, and Western governments, I might add, then we look at it, we say, okay, what's lying at the core of this is the US. Let's just even wipe that away for a second. What's the core cause of the Ukraine war? And who was involved? Let's look there. That's today. That's right now. Let's look over in the Middle East. What is the cause of the Palestinian and the Israeli conflict? They would have you to think that the Palestinians, all they want to do is eradicate the Jewish people. All they want to do is eradicate Israel. It is no justification of terrorism. Okay, if they defend their rights, that's terrorism. If you go thousands of miles away and bomb countries under false pretenses, that's liberty, freedom, and justice. How does that even make sense? See, people don't like, especially this empire, does not like when you hold the mirror up to his face because it's ugly. Something ugly looks back. And so they try to swipe it away, right? They want to swipe this stuff away. Like, I'm going to address something, and it may be, it may anger some of you, all right? But you'll get over it. If you feel butthurt, you'll get over it. Get you some preparation H, okay? Listen, if I work in the government, I'm giving you this example, okay? I always set this stuff up with examples so that you can't get mad at me, because you have to use common sense. You have to use reasoning, okay? What if I worked for the government and I was privy to highly classified secrets, right? And over time, I did everything I could to undermine the U.S. government, right? Even so far as to cause division within the United States, right? And even to try to put together militias to overthrow the government. And these are hypotheticals. So FBI, CIA, and all the alphabet boys don't come this way, because I am not about violence and I am not about the overthrow of the government. I let the chips fall where they may, and if it's God's will, he'll do whatever he will, and you can't stop it, neither can I, okay? But look, I did everything in that time to undermine the U.S. government. I did everything in that time to overthrow the leadership. I even started an insurrection and led the militias to violently overthrow the legitimate government of the United States. What would you call me in the chat? What would I be classified as in the chat real quick? All right. I want you to put that up. What would I be classified as? I want you out because I want to bring something up to you, because I have to talk about these things because nobody else does. And I know sometimes we don't agree with each other, and that's cool, but we're adults, so we can disagree. We can agree to disagree. Medi is a fool, man. Medi is something else. Oh my God. Oh my God. Medi, you better not say that too loud, buddy. You know how they are. Okay, there he is. Yeah. Medi is off the chain, I'm telling you. But anyway, so I'm gonna bring something up. Okay. Give me 1 second. All right. You would be classified, that your actions would be sedition, like Medi said, be classified as sedition to the government. We'll go into what sedition means in just a minute, okay? All right, because it's very important that you understand this, and then it'll give you an understanding about the hypocrisy of the West and why there's such a color divide, why there's such a cultural divide, and an economic divide, because those at the top use that so that they can rule everybody. But according to the dictionary, the word sedition means it's a noun, and it's conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state or monarch, incitement to riots and rebellion, agitation, rabble rousing. Okay, now doing that, they put the jacket on you of being a traitor to the U.S. Constitution and the U.S. Republic, right? Hold on one second. Yeah, man, I see you. I was being facetious with you too. But they would put the jacket of traitor on you, right? According to traitor, the definition of the word traitor, it's a noun. A person who betrays a friend, country, principle, etc. A betrayer, backstabber, double crosser, double dealer, right? A renegade. That's the definition. Now, why did I bring this up? I'm going to show you all of what I'm trying to do is, in limited time, show you the hypocrisy of this nation. And this is what is bringing the pillars to collapse and the empire to fall. Now, you would label me or Mehdi or anybody else that, and yet you would honor people who were traitors to the unification of the United States. You know that? When there was a North-South war, one of them was traitors. Do you know that? Do you know that? Do you know the statues that they have are statues of people who committed sedition and who did their best to overthrow the unified government of the United States? Nobody looks at it like that. I've heard Colonel McGregor talk about those. We cannot rid ourselves of history, and I agree with him on that. But we cannot embellish it, nor can we gloss over it either. We have to call an ace and a spade a spade. If these people try to secede from the Union and do it by force, right? Not by vote, by force. And in this civil war, because there's nothing civil about war, but in this civil war, this domestic war, tens of thousands of people were killed because one wanted to leave that and the other wanted a unified state. Somewhere in between there, one of the two committed sedition and one of the two is a traitor. And yet, we have statues of all of them and institutions named after them, like Jefferson Davis College, like all of this stuff like that. I bet you never looked at it like that. But I bring to you the truth the way it is and not the way you would like it to be. You know I'll get on anybody. I don't care your color. I don't care your gender. I don't care your sexual preference. If you violate, guess what? I will chomp you up. Huh? That's real. But I'm bringing this before you to show you just how messed up the system is, just how messed up everything is. When it's to the benefit of a few over here, this can be looked at in a way that portrays their views. But when you say something outside of the line of their views, then you become woke, ungrateful, a traitor, up to insurrection. Let's see. Betty says, look up the definition of traitor. The Washington, D.C. establishment knows if Trump wins, they're going to be tried for sedition and treason in the military court. The DOJ, FBI cannot do a boop thing about it, right? Okay. So I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because I want to play a video for you. I was looking at something from Dave Chappelle, okay? I got this heater on. It just kicked in. It's starting to warm up. Right? And this is what Dave Chappelle said. It's funny. Yeah. It's pretty cool. And nobody had a take on it concerning Donald Trump and the Donald Trump phenomenon, okay? And what better way to Medi just gave me the hook to bring it right in, okay? I wasn't even going to bring it up today, but Medi just gave me the hook, okay? So I want you to listen to this right here. Where's Dave at? Let's see. I hope I haven't. Oh, here it is right here. Check this out. This is 3 minutes.
I'm watching the news now. They're declaring the end of the Trump era. Now, okay, I can see how in New York you might believe this is the end of his era. I'm just being honest with you. I live in Ohio amongst the poor whites. A lot of you don't understand why Trump was so popular, but I get it because I hear it every day. He's very loved. And the reason he's loved is because people in Ohio have never seen somebody like him. He's what I call an honest liar. Well, I'm not joking right now. He's an honest liar. That first debate, I'd never seen anything like it. I've never seen a white male billionaire screaming at the top of his lungs, "This whole system is rigged," he said. And across the stage was a white woman, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, sitting over there looking at him like, "No, it's not." I said, "Now, wait a minute, bro. It's what he said." And the moderator said, "Well, Mr. Trump, if in fact the system is rigged, as you suggest, what would be your evidence?" You remember what he said, bro? He said, "I know the system is rigged because I use it." I said, "God damn." And then he pulled out an Illuminati membership card and chopped a line of cocaine up and did it right at the podium. No one ever heard someone say something that true. And then Hillary Clinton tried to punch him in the taxes. She said, "This man doesn't pay his taxes." He shot right back. "That makes me smart." And then he said, "If you want me to pay my taxes, then change the tax code. But I know you won't, because your friends and your donors enjoy the same tax breaks that I do." And with that, my friends, a star was born. No one had ever seen anything like that. No one had ever seen somebody come from inside of that house, outside, and tell all the commoners, "We are doing everything that you think we are doing," inside of that house. They just went right back in the house and started playing the game again. The Democrats were sore losers. I'm a Democrat, and I'm telling you, as soon as he won, they started saying all that he's colluding with Russia, he's colluding with Russia. It was very embarrassing as a Democrat, but as time went on, we all came to learn he was probably colluding with Russia. I even look at his wife different now. His wife is beautiful, no question about it, but she looks like the kind of chick that James Bond would smash but not trust. Why you got all them documents at his house? What is this? This guy that's famous for not reading his press briefings, now all of a sudden he got 10,000 documents in his house and we'll catch him on his readings. I've been fired from jobs many times in my life, and I will be very honest with you. Sometimes I was fired. I stole things from the office. Staplers, computer mouses, all kinds of stuff. But you know what I never stole from work? Work.
So he talks about the Trump phenomenon, and what he said is somewhat true about Trump. Trump in his debates, this is what made him so appealing to people, is that he's an insider, and every time an insider tried to throw mud on him, he was like, "Okay, yeah, that's right, yeah, but I'm not the only one that benefit. You benefited," and that was something that was not seen before or hadn't been seen in a long time. And that started the Trump phenomenon. Now, I have a couple videos up on my show. As I'm talking to you all, and as Dave Chappelle, the clip was playing, I was trying to get to it, but there's so many videos up on my site, it's hard for me to find them. And I think I'm getting closer to them, but I think I'm getting closer to it right here. If you want to know a lot about that, you go to how Trump's beginning happened and his connections. And either way, I'm not down in it because I don't get involved in the political system. Okay. And I continue to tell you that this system is so corrupt. One person is not going to change the system. The system has to be rebooted. The whole thing has to be taken down and something else has to be put in its place because the corruption is systemic. The greed is systemic. The racism is systemic. The sexism is systemic. And the only way that can be dealt with in the proper way for the benefit of the masses is for the entire system to be done away with. You understand? And if you take something like think about this, I'm gonna give you an example out in the yard work. Say for instance, you have a problem with weeds, and you go out there and you mow the lawn. You say, my yard looks good. It looks real good today. And it rains, and your grass grows back. And you look over at your flowers, and they're overcome with weeds again. You go back out there, you put the stuff to kill the weeds. A couple months later, the weeds are back, right? The only way to stop the weeds from coming back, you have to uproot the weeds. As long as there is a root in the ground, whenever it gets the proper nourishment, it will flourish and bloom back, come back up to the top and overtake any good flower, plant, or tree. You understand? And this must be applied to politics also. You understand? Yeah, I know you guys understand what I'm saying. But I'm trying to figure out. I have a whole interview with Professor Kevin Barrett, who documented Trump's rise and his connections. Okay, you guys can go check that out. I don't know if it's on this channel because I think YouTube suspended me for that video. It may be on Patreon, but clips of it are video clips are on here. It may be on this channel for all I know, but I know for a fact that there's video about this, right? And it talks about, he goes into the corruption of Hillary Clinton and the Clintons. He goes and he's giving you references all throughout. He gives you the corruption on Joe Biden, and their family, the gangster family ties that they have. And I'm telling you, you got to go check that out. All right. So I don't think I can find it. So many videos up here right now, almost 800 videos. So that's going to be a hard find, but I know that I have them up here. All right. And I think to give you a start, it's going to be about 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Roughly about 2 years ago. So you can start looking at the videos about 2 years ago, because I don't want you to have to go through all of this stuff. I see some of it right here. Let's see. Give me 1 second. I think I might be near it, because I remember these videos coming out. I have the clips on it when he was talking about the Biden-Harris team, and how they are owned by big business, and he goes into that. And I have the he goes into Joe Biden's hand in bombing of Libya. Where is Trump? He says look at Trump's policies. U.S. trade war, and then he talks about, and this is a white professor, okay? So when I say this, this is what he said, not me. He said white America. He talks about white America's fascination with Donald Trump. It's in there. It's like, you can go check the clips out. I tried to put certain clips up there, and he has, here they are. I found them 3 years ago. 3 years ago, one clip is called Red Mafia: The Making of the Trump Phenomenon. Right? That is about 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Another one is called Straight Gangster: The Making of the Trump Phenomenon Part 1. And that's 3 minutes and 54 seconds. And I believe the link to the video is in those in the description there. So if you want to go check that out, you can. But let's go on to stuff. Let's go back to the news. And I just wanted to put that out there, okay? Now, this article that we started with, I don't have a short memory. You see how we came right back to this article. NATO supplied missiles intercepted over Russia's border region, according to the governor. That's an act of war. You know that? Do you know that's an act of war? I want to ask you all, the people in the UK, how would you view it if Iran's missiles flew over London? Wouldn't you think that Iran, say for instance, Iran supplied the Houthis with some of their most powerful ballistic missiles, or Iran supplied Hezbollah with 2,000-kilometer missiles, and Hezbollah gets mad at Israel and shoots a couple of those ballistic missiles over the UK. Isn't that a declaration of war? Who do you think the UK would single out for that? What if Iran supplied those same missiles to the Panamanian government or the Ecuadorian government in Latin America, and the leaders were in a spat with the United States, and the leaders fired off those ballistic missiles over one city in the United States? Who would America blame, and who would America take more of her anger out on? I'm asking. Because we have to call an ace and a spade, and we have to put things in their proper perspective. You can't just be everywhere, all over the place with stuff. No. If this applies here, it must apply here. See, in science and in mathematics, there are rules to the game. Today, you can't say 6 plus 6 is 12, and tomorrow say 6 plus 6 equals 34 because it may fit you better with the 34 the day after tomorrow. No. Because of the rules of mathematics and science, 6 plus 6 will always be 12. Right? The same thing with international law, the same thing with geopolitics. You cannot say that if Russia did it, if China did it, if Iran did it, if Venezuela did it, if Niger did it, that's an act of war. But because France and the UK and the US and the NATO organization supplied these weapons that they knew full well would be fired at Russian cities, is not a direct assault on Russia by NATO. When they had been broadcasting this for the longest, that they were going to supply these weapons, and sure, they could hit Russia, but we will talk to them and tell them not to hit Russia. Now, everybody, America controls, and Britain controls the powers, the levels of power in Ukraine. If these missiles were fired, who were they fired by? And if they were not fired by NATO, who gave the order? Common sense. So we have to look at it like that. So let's go a little further. It says Russian air defenses have reportedly intercepted 2 NATO-supplied Storm Shadow missiles that were apparently heading toward a school and medical facility in Russia's Kherson region, according to the governor, Vladimir Zaldo. In a Telegram post on Wednesday, the governor stated that the missiles were brought down near the village of Popovka, I think that's how you pronounce it, in the Jinchesk municipality, and posted several photos apparently showing what was left of the Franco-British made munitions. Now, how is that not an act of war by NATO? How? And how can Russia stop this? Because people say, well, Russia adapts to this, and Russia, they make it hit one time, and then Russia finds a way to adapt to it and neutralize it. The way to neutralize it and not have to adapt to it is to live up to what you said. Remember all of that bluster by Medvedev prior to the Challenger tanks, prior to the Leopard tanks, prior to the Abrams, the personnel carriers, the TOW missiles, the Patriot air defense systems, the F-16s, all of this prior to what was Medvedev saying? That if these were used on Russian soil, Russia would construe that as an act of war by NATO. Russia would respond in kind. Well, people say, well, Russia has responded and hidden NATO centers in Ukraine. True. But they're not hidden NATO centers in NATO. That's a different ball game. But guess what? NATO is hidden Russian centers in Russia through a proxy. Listen to me good. I was reading a report about how listen, I'm saying this, and I'm not advocating war. I want to get that straight. I'm not advocating war. What I'm showing you is the hypocrisy of the world. And this is what is leading the world to war. When you can't look at a man in the eye or a woman in the eye and bluntly state to them, hey, listen, let's stop this before it escalates. I don't want a confrontation. I don't want to fight with you. Take some of the bass out of your voice. Talk to them man to man so that nobody thinks that you're trying to one up them or something like this. Look them in the eye. Say what you mean and mean what you say. And now, if things escalate thereafter, it is not because you did not try to de-escalate. When things escalate, then you escalate because you did your best to avoid the situation. And now you realize that what you said and how you tried to reason with them did not get through. How is it that my citizens are going to die because you decided to provide them with weapons that can hit Kaliningrad? Or Belgorod? No, that's not how it. Any one of you who are watching this will not allow anybody to come into your home, slap your children up, kill your wife or your husband, beat you up, come back again and do it over again and say, hey, I really didn't do it. I supplied the weapons to the robbers that did it. In America, if a person has an accident and they were driving drunk, the police do their due diligence and go back and see if they were at a bar. And if the bartender continued to serve after they knowingly saw that person, that customer, was inebriated. And if they come to the conclusion that they continued to serve that inebriated person, then both the person who drove the car and the bar owner will get charged with murder or vehicular homicide. There's no out from that. Right? If I know that you want to kill Jerry over here, and I say, Mehdi, I don't want you to kill Mehdi. I don't want you to kill Joe over there. But come here. I got this AK-47 right here with all of these clips. Here's the schedule of Joe. The police doesn't come around for the next 6 hours. And Mehdi said, well, I don't have the car to do it. No matter. Here are the keys to my car. I don't want you to do it, though. I don't want you to do it. But you know what, Mehdi? Joe has been talking reckless about you and your wife and what he'll do to you. And all the while I'm giving Mehdi liquor. We're watching murder movies and that vicious gangster rap music, right? It's all in your head. So the environment now centers around murder. I'm shaping the environment for you to go murder that person. And when you go over there in my car, after drinking my liquor and listening to my speech on this matter, and you looking at the schedule that I gave you, the weapons and the bullets, the ammunition that I gave you, and pointed on this card the address and which bedroom was his and which bedroom was his children and which bedroom was his what they like to congregate at, and you go over there and do it, guess what happens? The police don't just get you. They come after me harder than they came after you because I'm the instigator. Right? Is that not right? In America. Anybody in the chat disagree with me? Anybody? So when we're looking at this thing unfold in Ukraine, everybody knows that it is America, the UK, and NATO's fault because they don't have a pause. They want total capitulation and submission by every nation on earth. Every nation. Not one, not two. Every single nation must capitulate to American and British imperialism under the auspices of the rules-based international order. Or else you are a regime, a militia, a tyrant, a dictator, a despot. But those terms don't apply to the people who push the world not to one world war, but to two of them. Those terms don't apply to people who are now pushing the world towards 3 world wars. But Saddam is a despot and a dictator, even though he was placed in power by the CIA and the MI6. He's a despot now. Gaddafi's a despot, according to the West. Even though he raised his people's living standard, educational standard, and their way of life. But Joe Biden is a leader. Even though he doesn't have he doesn't even have a 33% approval rating if you really want to talk about it. The British leadership has low approval ratings. All of the Western leaders don't have a quarter of what Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, Maduro in Venezuela, and the president of Iran or the president of Syria has. And they are the despots in the West or the legitimate governments. How do you even square that up? Make that make sense. I'm just asking. Make that make sense. Because that math is not mathing anymore. Right? When you go to the gristle, the bone of it, Western math is not mathing anymore. Right? Man, I thank each and every one of y'all for joining me and giving me your time. I'm serious. So we talk about this. And then we look at, and then we are stunned about the blowback, the effects of it. We want to ignore science. We think that we're the exception to the rules of science and the laws of the universe. Every action will receive an equal or greater reaction. What goes around comes around. What you put out, you get back, and then some. So if you put out war, occupation, domination, and dictation to everybody else, and you don't seriously believe that that's going to come back on you, But it can come back on the individual person. It can come back on businesses, but not the government of the United States and the UK and the West, because why? They're exceptional. Is that not insanity? I'm just asking. The whole world sees that the Western world is collapsing right in front of us. The whole world. The dollar is being rejected around the world. And this is the life's blood of the American and British Empire. I say the American and British Empire. It's not just the American Empire. It's the American and the British Empire. And we are watching the world spin out of control because these lunatics in London and Washington feel that they have the divine ability and the divine right to dictate to everybody. What did the United States say in their policy? Manifest destiny, right? Matter of fact, let's go back to that. Let's see something. Give me this real quick. Let me look up here real quick. All right, here we go. Man, that popped right on up. Manifest destiny. All right. It says, what is manifest destiny in simple terms? Manifest destiny was the idea that white America was divinely ordained to settle the entire continent of North America. The ideology of manifest destiny inspired a variety of measures designed to remove or destroy the native population. So now when we look at manifest destiny and we say what it was, no, it is. Why are they 2,000 miles away in the Middle East? Why are they 3,000 miles away in Africa telling everybody what they should do? Latin America telling them what they should do. or threatening war. As a matter of fact, they're positioning for war in Asia because they want to stop or stymie China's rise. Because again, if you don't believe that definition, I'm going to let you hear one of the foremost respected scholars on U.S. policy, right? And I think John Mearsheimer, I can't pronounce his name, but anyhow, I want you to listen to him, right? And even as he talks about the situation, he doesn't, being a scholar now, he doesn't see anything wrong with America and the Western world trying to contain China. There's nothing wrong with that in his mind. What if the other nations got together and did that to the United States, the UK, Germany, France, or any of those nations? You would see a problem with that, and then you would say that would be unacceptable because that we would view that as an attack on our NATO allies. But it's okay to try to stop Russia, because remember, they don't see Russia as European. And when they look at China, they see China as the greatest threat to Western hegemony. And so as he's talking, I want you to listen close to him when I play him. As he describes these things, he never rejects the idea of American containment. Never. As a matter of fact, he tells you he believes that eventually they're going to get it together, and America and her allies, meaning Europe, will eventually be able to contain China. Why? What did China do to make you want to contain them? Supersede you and surpass you in manufacturing? Has caught up with you in technology? Has surpassed you economically? Has more reserves, more gold? Are they in America waging war with you? No. Are there companies waging war against U.S. companies? No, but U.S. tech companies are waging war against Chinese tech companies. Why do you think that Apple and Microsoft were so adamant about Trump sanctioning Huawei, sanctioning TikTok? Because they saw that as a threat. Never, see, in their eyes, only Western corporations have the right to be the number one, number two, and all of these companies have the right to be number one globally. How dare China challenges us on that? And what got really into their craw is China was not, that TikTok was not just won over Facebook. It was more popular and is more popular than all of the Western social medias combined. That's unacceptable. Huawei and all of these other phone companies were challenging the myth of Western might and Western technological supremacy. And that is unacceptable because Apple needs to be looked at as the company. Microsoft needs to be looked up as the company. Facebook needs to be looked at as the platform. Instagram needs to be looked up as this platform. All of these things, they go and influence your government to wage war on China because they see not only is America losing her footing technologically, politically, and culturally, their companies are losing their footing in the same manner. I want you to listen to this, and tell me whether or not he's ever rejected that in this about containment of China. Listen to this real good. This is about 3 minutes and 7 seconds.
Is the military capacity keeping pace with that commitment of the foreign affairs establishment in Washington, if I can put it that way?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that is the $64,000 question, as we used to say when I was a kid, right? You know, is the United States pursuing a smart strategy for dealing with China, for dealing with Russia? Is it spending its money wisely? Is it in a good position to fight a war should one break out? I mean, I think that if you look at what's happening in Ukraine, it's quite clear that the United States made a number of mistakes in terms of managing the defense establishment since the end of the Cold War. For example, it's now quite clear from the Russia-Ukraine war that you want to have a powerful industrial base that can pump out lots of artillery and lots of artillery rounds and so forth and so on. And one of the principal reasons that the Russians are in very good shape in the Russia-Ukraine war is because the Russians have significant manufacturing capability when it comes to weaponry, and they can pump out huge numbers of artillery tubes and tanks and so forth and so on. The Ukrainians, of course, don't have that, but the West, and here we're talking mainly about the United States, doesn't have that capability either. We do not have the ability to produce large numbers of artillery tubes. We're talking about reestablishing that capability, but we don't have it. So the United States has a defense establishment, a military establishment that is now learning lessons in Ukraine. Drones is another example. I mean, I don't think we fully appreciated just how important drones are for waging modern warfare. And we're moving quickly to try to rectify that problem. But we have a number of shortcomings that have to be fixed if we're going to contain China in smart ways. And I'm sure the Australians who are watching the war in Ukraine are, deriving similar lessons and thinking about how to fashion their military forces moving forward. And furthermore, how the United States and Australia can work together to deal with specific scenarios that might occur in the future. So I don't want to be Panglossian here in talking about where the United States is today. I think the United States, because we're coming out of the unipolar moment where we didn't worry about great power war, has a military that's got some problems. But I think those problems will be fixed. And I think the United States will, in the end, do a fine job of containing China moving forward.
The United States would do a good job of containing China moving forward. Now, look at this. According to the IMF, World Bank, or the UN, at the beginning of 2023, they said this right here, and I put it in my search engine. China's economy is the only bright spot for the global economy. It's the only bright spot for the global economy. China was the only economy that produced major growth. Without China, and then they had an article saying that China's economy has displaced the United States and has become the central economy to the global economy. This is what they say. So now we have metrics to judge China by. We have institutions that are run by the Western world to judge China by. And they were saying that, hey, it's a good thing because China is producing and exporting and buying, and they are the only sign of growth in the world, right? They're the only sign of that. So if we look at what they say, we can say that China's economy is for good, right? We can say that. Now, China's so important to the global economy. This is what it's asked. It says, trade and manufacturing, China is often referred to as the world's factory, as it is the largest exporter of goods in the world. Its manufacturing sector has become an as important part of the global supply chain, producing a wide range of goods at relatively low cost. So now that is something that's beneficial, not just to China, but to consumers around the globe, right? So we can see that from the metrics judged by the West, China's economic growth is not only good for the Chinese nation, it is good for the globe, okay? Now, why did I put that in there? Because we're going to go to something he said. Okay. Containment. Okay. That word containment that he used. All right. That word containment. And I just want you to understand definition. Okay. That is very important. He said he really believes, and I'm paraphrasing now, that America will get it together and she'll be successful in containing China. Now, according to the definition of the word containment, it is a noun. And the word means the action of keeping something harmful under control or within limits. Now, according to the IMF, the World Bank, and the UN, it said that China's growth China's economic activity lies now at the center of the global economy, and it is beneficial to not just China, but who? The entire globe. So how can that be harmful? So if it is not harmful, why must you contain China? Because one of the main issues of that word containment is the action of keeping something harmful under control or within limits, right? The action or policy of preventing, listen to this, the action or policy of preventing the expansion of a hostile country or its influence. That is why they wanted to contain China, because it is not under the thumb of London, Berlin, Brussels, Paris, and more, Washington, D.C. That is what's going on, right? So, again, let's use common sense for a second, okay? If China produces 93 to 95, let's not even say 93 to 95. We're gonna do away with all those numbers, okay? The acceptable numbers, I just want to show you something. We're going to do away with all of the known and acceptable numbers. Instead of saying China is responsible for 93 to 95% of all products on U.S. shelves, and I might add a large portion of goods on European shelves. Let's just take the number down. We're going to drop it by a factor of more than 10. All right? More than 10. We're going to drop it 13 to 15%. So we're going to say China is responsible for 80% of the U.S.'s goods on her shelves. All right? We'll say that. We're going to do away with the $1.2 to $1.3 trillion that the United States owe her. And we're going to reduce that by a factor of 300 billion. All right? So if it's 1.3 trillion, we'll say 1 trillion. That's because I want you to see something. Now, does that make the United States less reliant on China? What about U.S. businesses? Now, some of the businesses buy stuff cheap at China, resell it, and that's how they make their business. That's how they make their profits, right? Now, if the United States continues to push China and continues to sanction China, who do you think has the upper hand? You owe me $1 trillion. Almost all of your goods on your shelves come from me, right? I'm the largest manufacturer in the world. I'm the largest trade partner to you. I'm the largest trade partner to Europe. I have 4 of the 5 largest banks in the world. I'm the largest lender. I'm the largest investor. And by purchasing power parity, I am the largest economy. So, if you wage a tech war with me, you saw what just happened. They tried to wage a tech war and what happened? China produced the chips that they tried to prevent China to produce. So now guess what happens? China becomes self-sufficient in those chips. So now businesses that used to sell China the chips are now out of a client, which means profit margins go in an economy that's already right. So you want to sanction more things, TikTok, this, and this. Did that stop China's economy? No. But look at America's economy, because they never talk about these things. They always shed the light on somebody else. China has all these ghost towns. China this and China that. Yeah, but most of China's debt is held internally by Chinese. Why won't we talk about that? China has a debt problem. Sure, but the debt is held by the Chinese. Wouldn't you prefer that Americans held U.S. debt than for all of these other nations to hold U.S. debt so that they can use it to destabilize the U.S. economy? But China got it right. The Chinese hold the debt. And besides that, they have the gold and the silver and all of these commodities to back their currency. So now you want a trade war. That's not working. And you have played on this political war, which is not going so well for you. So now you're positioning for what? A military confrontation. One that you can't win. You've war gamed it. You've had every scenario on the planet. Why would you even put you're willing to blow up your own house because your neighbor's house looks better? You don't want their house because for so long in the neighborhood you had the best looking house. So now you're going down the street and saying, I want to fight the neighbor. I want to shoot the neighbor, but you laid dynamite at your house. And so when you light the fuse, instead of it going down the street to blow the neighbor house up, it goes backwards and blow your house up. These people are sociopaths that run America, that run the UK, that run the rules-based order. They never, ever take the time to think about the ramifications, not for them, to hell with them, but for the average person that is trying to make it, for the average person that is trying to do right, live right, think right, talk right, and treat people right. They don't care anything about that person. All they care about is imposing their dictates on whomsoever they have chosen would be the mark at that time. How do you think that would go? You are the most indebted nation on the planet. Again, I'm going to explain this. We've reduced the debt burden of America. You don't owe China 1.3, you owe 1 trillion. Man, that's a lot of money. You don't owe China 95% of your goods don't come from China, only 80%. Now, would that change the situation if a war breaks out? Because when war breaks out, guess what happens? Trade between the nations stops. So that means now, and then check this out. There was a time when if war broke out, America had an industry. She had a manufacturing capacity where she could produce jobs at home, right? That is non-existent today. So if war breaks out, guess what happens? There's a sanction. China sanctions you. They halt all shipping. Now, I think about all those shipping companies that are losing tens of millions and billions of dollars, right? Then I want you to think about this. Within 2 weeks, your store shelves go empty. Again, let's look at this. I talk about this on a whole bunch of shows because I'm trying to get something over to you. When the stores go empty, the people get desperate. The people get desperate. You got insurrection and revolution. On top of that, you have multiple massive store closings. As a matter of fact, you know it's bad. I was looking at something last night. Walmart is starting to close more stores now. No lie, no lie. Walmart is quietly closing stores. Outside of the U.S. government, Walmart is the largest employer of people in America. And you think everything is going fine? And when we're talking about the UK, let's look. I saved something for that one too. Hold on one second. Where is it? Here it is. Thousands of restaurants and pubs, for those of you in the West, that's across the pond where I'm at. When they say pubs, they're talking about bars, okay? Thousands of restaurants and pubs closing in UK due to the rising utility bills. And the article says this: thousands of restaurants and pubs are closing in the United Kingdom due to exorbitant increases in utility bills, as well as rent and operating costs, according to the UK media. Now, that's a blowback from sanctioning Russia. That's sanctioning Russia. You sanction Russian oil. You sanction its commodities. You sanction its gas. And now you got to deal with the problem because you are not really self-sufficient enough to do that. So now you got to hike up everything. And when you buy your oil, you buy your gas, you got to buy it through a middleman now who, instead of when you could buy it from Russia for $40, the middleman now demands you, hey, you got to pay me $70. And so now the companies are charging you an arm, a leg, a foot, a toe, and an eyeball to get gas or to get electricity. But that comes from failure of foresight by the leadership. What did I tell you all? When I say America, I'm speaking about the UK too. America mirrors back the UK and vice versa. The policies are insane. And they don't care about the person in the mud that gets hurt. All they care about is power, money, and being able to control whomsoever they want. So look, let's go back to this. 80%. We're not talking about 95. We're not talking about 93. 80% of all the stores are full of Chinese goods. China sanctions you. Nothing comes. 2 weeks at the most, the shelves are empty. Now you got people that need baby food. You got people that need food. You got people that need diapers. You got people that need all of this stuff. So now you have no goods to give them. And they have no way of getting money to pay for the goods, because now you have stores and businesses shutting down, going belly up. So now you are dealing with a massive amount of businesses closing and a massive amount of people now becoming unemployed, right? So what follows? You have insurrection and war. You have dissatisfaction and disagreement. So now the government is not just dealing with an enemy outside. She's dealing with the problem that was festering and has become an enemy within inside. Because after that takes place, guess what happens? You have a huge wave of bankruptcies and defaults. Shipping companies going under. Trucking companies going under. Trains that ship things from one place to the other on the rails going belly up. They're defaulting. Now, if you think things were bad, that means that they can't pay the loans back to the banks, which means the banks become strapped for money, which means the banks are bankrupt and go belly up, which means it turns the whole economy that is barely hanging on by a thread upside down and spinning in a death spiral. All because of these people wanting to dominate. No equals with America. We can't be peers. We can't be equals. We can't be near peers. I must rule. I must dictate. I must dominate. And so in my mind, now we got to play all the cards now. We're losing everything. So now guess what? We take the country to war, because that'll distract them from the suffering just a little bit that they have, even though they're suffering even more because more kids, more people are coming home in body bags. The destruction is unreal. And you're seeing the fall of the republic play out in your hand, right in front of your face. This is what I'm saying. But nobody has the gall to say that. Nobody has. I'm looking at here. Look what Mehdi says. And if you hear me when I'm turning my chair, you know that's that squeaking. So forgive me for that, but look past that. So it says, CC is in the building. Serious B is in the building. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't get you guys from the jump. Y'all charge it to my head and not to my heart. I was trying to make a point clear, because you got to understand these things. You got to hear these things. Mehdi says, Walmart heavily relies on Chinese produced products. Amazon as well. Target does too. And all of these other stores. They all do. And when it says Taiwan, it's still China. When it says Vietnam, it's still China. Because China just ships it over there, and then Vietnam sticks a label that says made in Vietnam, and they ship it over here. Cambodia too. All of that. So if we really want to say it, we can say that 98% of all goods are produced by China. Seriously. So now you have started a butterfly effect or a snowball effect that will be devastating to the economy, that will cause the collapse of the American empire. Remember, without this, when America prints money for war, it's worthless. Remember what happened to Hitler when he did that? And it's spent into hyperinflation. Now think about this. America's economy and America's dollar has been accepted as the number one. Now, without the backing, without that and everything that she once had, guess what happens? The dollar becomes worthless. The economy completely collapsed. And what they teach you about it happened in the 20s and the 30s about the Great Depression will look like child's play to what will happen and what will break down before you. Seriously, I'm not making this up. I've talked to several economists about it, insiders, and a couple people, other people behind the scene, and they've given me their take on it. And I was thinking, you know what? That's similar to my take on it. But look what Mehdi says. They are defaulting because of all the regulations they put on these industries. Look what they're doing to all trucking in Cali. Woo, Mehdi. Woo. And then it says, Mehdi says exactly. People will need more than gold to survive. Yeah, you can't eat gold. You know, I know some of the channels say, stack up on your gold and your silver. Yeah, you do. Stack up on food and water too, and candles and all the essentials. You're gonna need all of that. You're gonna need all of that, right? Now, people say, well, I got solar. I got solar too. But listen what happened. One cord got disconnected, got broken, one link, right? And the whole solar thing, because I didn't get it installed. We have it, right? Because I'm mostly off the grid. We are mostly off the grid here, okay? Seriously. So one cord got damaged, right? Guess what it did? Because we had 3 portable generators also connected to the solar system that we have. It shut it all down. My children were playing on our patio, and one clip on the cord that went through the thing was broken, and it shut the whole thing down, and it caused a few of the batteries to overload. So you're going to have to prepare for more than that. Oh, we got the thing mostly fixed now, but serious. I'm still waiting for a couple other parts, but still, what I'm telling you, you're going to need more than that. And what happens when you can't get these things? Do you not see all these stores closing? You know what? I got something. Where is it? Where is that? You guys, do you mind if I take maybe 30, 40 seconds to get something? I want to show you something because I had this saved from maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, right? And my daughter went into the store to get something, and she saw something, and she brought it to me. You are not going to believe this. The price, the size difference in this. So please give me about 30 or 40 seconds, okay? And I'll be right back. Do not go off. I'm going to put it to my. Let me see. Where's my martial arts screen? Let's see. Let me scroll down for a minute. That'll give you a chance to look at martial arts, taekwondo, judo, jiu-jitsu, Nabard combat, all of that stuff like that. You'll get a chance to see that up on the screen. I'm going to go to that real quick, and then I'll be right back. I'm going to look for this, and you're going to be like, no flipping way. I just want you to see this, okay? Give me 1 second. I'll put this up. Will it? Okay. I don't know if it'll let me take myself down off the screen, and I'll be right back with you. Don't go anywhere. All right. Let's All right, here we go. All right. My daughter, she found this. And she said, Dad, I remember you used to have that a long time ago. I said, yeah, I still got a can of that. So look at this. I want you to see this. You see this? This is a can of Murray's grease, right? Right? Some people use it to try to put waves in their hair. Other people use it if they have thick grain hair. I have thick grain hair. All right. So look, and it's better than like the loose grease that you have to put in your hair. So look at this can. Okay. This can, you can see it's old. I mean, this can is like maybe 2 years old or something like this. Right? See how big this is? I'm going to show you this. Now, this is what she got at the store today. Now, when this was available, and it still is, it was at first it was $1.50. Then it went up to $1.90, and then I think the last time I got this, it was like $2.25 or $2.50. Could have been $2.50. I believe it was between $2.25 and $2.50. Okay, look at this. Now, this is what she got from the store about 5 days ago. Same can, look, no lie. You see that? Look at this. Guess how much this can cost? $2.50. Look at that can. Look at how thick it is. Look how thick that is. Look how big that is. $2.50 today, $2.50 2 years ago. You see that? Amazing, isn't it? You don't think we're in a state of hyperinflation? Have you lost your mind? Of course we're in a state of hyperinflation. How else can you explain that? Where a can this big is reduced to a can that big, almost 5 times the size, but it costs the same price. What do you call that? If they reduce the size in it by 5 times, and yet you pay the same amount for that reduced size that you paid for something that was 5 times bigger. Hyperinflation, right? Right? See, I was saving that. I said, you know what? I got to show this because I couldn't believe it. My daughter first thought about it when she saw it. And she said, Dad, I just got to show you this. I have to show you this. Say, yeah, man, same price. I put it back up here again because see, people, they're not going to believe. Look at that. And you know what? I scratched the price off of this just by mistake. And I only recently did that because it was on my table or whatever. And I was doing something, you know, and I scratched it off, not even thinking. And my daughter, she saw this. She said, Dad, I got to show. When she got in the car with me, she said, Dad, I got this for you. You're not going to believe this. I was like, what? She said, look, Dad. And I saw it. I was like, what? This must be the mini thing. She says, no. $2.50? $2.50. You see that? And you're telling me, Matt said, where was it produced? Well, let's see. Let's see, Matty. This one says it was produced in Wyoming, right? And some of it is produced in Michigan. This one. This one says it is produced in London. Same price, different sizes. I know that would be an eye-opener to you to let you see the realness of inflation and how they try to mask it. Medi said, man, let me put this up here. I got to put this up because Medi is 100% right on this one. Let me scroll down and get this. Where is it at? Where is it? There it is. We're all going to be fighting over ramen noodles to feed our families. It looks that way, right? It looks that way. It's crazy. This is absolutely crazy. The size difference. It's amazing. And I never thought about it. my daughter said when she was in the store and she saw it, she said, Dad, I had to get this for you because you would not believe me if I just told you this. She said, you have to put it up beside that can that you had sitting on that table. And I'm like, okay. And when she pulled it out, I could not believe it. I'm like, what is this, the miniature one? She's like, no. That's what they said. It's the average can in there now. Crazy, right? If I didn't have this before you and I was telling you about it, you wouldn't believe it. This is why I tell you I keep receipts. That's why I say what I say, because I can prove what I'm saying. You understand? The economy is collapsing. Okay, Betty, do that. DM that to me, please. Betty says, let me highlight this. Betty says, I wrote an article with that years ago. I called it the ramen noodle revolution. And it looks like we're headed that way, right? Hey, everybody, please. I've been on the air for like an hour and a half. I was supposed to just do an hour. Please hit the like button. Please hit the like button. I would really appreciate that. Hit the like button, hit the dislike button, hit some button. Do something, seriously. Because I could have been laying down, or I could have been in there preparing for what's coming tomorrow with my daughter and everything. But I wanted to talk to you because of what took place yesterday, and I couldn't go live. All right. But I'm going to, since Medi, I don't think Medi them have any problem with me releasing part 2 of that. Oh, Medi, I got to tell you and the guy, Rashid and I, we're supposed to be doing a channel members video. We were supposed to do it today, but I got back late. So we're going to try to do that for you guys. Not tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow or something like that. And we'll release it either that night or the next day, okay? So it's going to be some new channel member stuff up soon too. Everybody, yeah. But hit the like button. If you're over on Rumble, please subscribe. I would really appreciate that. If you're over on Odyssey, please subscribe. If you're on Twitch, please subscribe. If you're on Twitter, please subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. And even if you don't agree with what I'm saying, let's be mature about this. That's the problem with the world today. People can't take differing opinions. Look at what happens on social media. If you differ with the mainstream media, you get censored, you get a strike, or you get banned. How is that productive for society? How is that productive for society? See, I'm built different than most people, man. Listen, and I get a lot of blowback because of that. I don't care, man. I'm built for this. Like, let's go back to Arbonne. Let's go to Europe, okay? And Arbonne was quoted, and I don't know how true this is, but Arbonne was quoted as saying he wanted to keep Hungary Christian and white. I said I don't have a problem with that. What's the problem with that? What is the problem with that? You understand? I mean, see, man, I told you, I'm built different. I just said, listen, if that is the case, then the United States should remove all of those sanctions on Niger, on Mali, and on Burkina Faso, who said almost the same thing. All I'm saying is, if that is okay here, it should be okay there. But I didn't see anything wrong with him because that's their tradition. And you can't go in that man's country telling him how he can make up his country, how his country should be made up. Oh, I'm gonna put 6% black people here, and 6% such and such. We've got to recompose the makeup of the country. Man, the hell with that. That man was right in what he was saying. And I know some of you don't want to hear it, but it is what it is. You can be mad all you want to. The same as when the United States trying to dictate the composition of Niger or Burkina Faso. How can I, on one hand, promote the rights of Burkina Faso and Mali, and then condemn Arbonne? Huh? Man, stop this. Stop this. Just stop it. Hey, man, we're about to go off the air. Thank each and every one of you all for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, anywhere on the face of God's green earth. Hey, thank you all. I really, really appreciate it. May God bless each and every one of you. Hey, and remember this. I love you if you love truth, but know that the true and living God will always love you better. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. I love you all. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. Thank you, everybody, and deuces. We out of here.